Thank you for joining us for this Repertoire podcast. And now, your host, Scott Adams.
Hey everybody, Scott Adams here. This is, again, part of the 2026 Hall of Fame podcast series from Repertoire. We'll be doing the Hall of Fame on April 16th here in Atlanta at the Braves Stadium. And if you look in the daily news each day, we have a banner ad where you can click and buy your ticket to that. Or if your company wants to sponsor a table, you can do that as well and go ahead and book your hotels. Again, April 16th, 2026. The podcast today is with my good friend, Manny Losada. Manny is the president at Optimal and the president and owner of MedPro. He will talk a little bit about how those two businesses came about. It's a pretty cool conversation, and Manny's a character, so you'll love this podcast. And here we go with Manny. Manny, thank you for being on the podcast. And before we even start, let me just congratulate you on the induction into the Hall of Fame here in April 16th, 2026. It's going to be a fun night, but more than anything, congratulations, my friend. Well deserved.
Well, it means a lot coming from you, especially. And, it's going to be one of those nights. I got two great colleagues of mine that I have a lot of respect for are joining me. And we are looking forward to one hell of a night. So I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun night. Talking about the two colleagues, say a few words here as we start out kind of the Hall of Fame. You've been to probably every one of them since we've started having the dinner.
Yes,
and then talk about the two guys that are going in a little bit and just what it means to you, the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, if you don't mind, I would take a second here just as a personal tribute. We lost a dear colleague, a bigger than life person in our industry about a week ago. And I'd be remiss if I didn't start with recognition and love and prayers going out to his wife and family. It's beyond the industry. He's touched so many lives, and including mine. But I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that before we go any further.
Good. Yeah, Mike was an unbelievable individual, and the amount of time that he gave back to Fish, the charity we're going to be donating to this year, was unbelievable. He was, to your point, exactly, just bigger than life. Mike Carver, former Hall of Famer, and what a great individual. So I appreciate you bringing him up.
Fair enough. Well, look, I mean, the Hall of Fame, wow. Especially coming from you on the invite, it meant a lot to me. Completely unexpected. I think you saw my reaction. I'm really never at a loss for words, and at that moment, I was. But I've had the honor of roasting two kind of legends in our industry. Early on, back in 2010, John Sasson, may he rest in peace. Early mentor of mine, a dear friend. Back in those days. And second to that is my partner, Bill Sparks. Now being kind of, being received on the receiving side and of that company and all the other members of the Hall of Fame, it's just very humbling to me, kind of numbing. I consider this a Lifetime Achievement Award, and I'm happy to be sticking around long enough to have been part of this. And I've devoted my career to this industry, and I'm just grateful for the recognition and, being a part of that evening with some special people. Joe Grispo, he and I were colleagues. He didn't really work for me. I probably worked for him at B. Braun. Successful career, just a trusted handshake in the industry. I'm so happy to have him side by side, and John, don't underestimate him. He and I sat on several boards, and I'm never at a loss for words. And John taught me to be a listener. He's a words of wisdom, and his approach.
Quiet assassin.
Is a quiet assassin. Well said. But I have a lot of respect for him, and obviously, what he's done in his career with his organization. So,
it's a great group this year. We are honored and excited about it. I mentioned in my podcast with John, I get to walk by the Hall of Fame wall every day and just see the folks that are in it, and Kevin Newman kind of gave the idea to Brian and Chris back in 2000. That was way before we started doing the dinner. Sassen's Dinner actually was the first dinner that
Correct.
we ever did. And that was Brian's brainchild. And it's just been a fun night every since. I look forward to it every year. And,
Yeah.
everybody just kind of puts their weapons at the door, and it's a fun industry event to celebrate the industry and you folks. So it's going to be fun. I am very much looking forward to it. Um, let's talk a little bit about MedPro Optimal. I want to give you a chance to kind of talk about, where did that come from originally? And, what were some gaps that you guys may have seen in the market, and how that came about with you and Sparky and kind of getting that thing off the ground?
Sure. Bill, obviously him and Parker Bigley, we did some early work for Optimal over a decade ago in representing the government business. And Bill and I saw an opportunity to strategically kind of combine the organizations. There was a need and remains a need in the industry to fill these gaps with national sales coverage, augmenting our manufacturers' models, and then provide at the same time logistics solutions for these manufacturers. So I kind of sit in between both organizations. They're separate organizations, but I run both of them. So these gentlemen just inspire me every day in the manufacturer community. I've got a tremendous management team on both sides. But our mission is really for both manufacturers and distributor, these providing that coverage and being able to support them logistically. I don't think there's an organization out there, adding government services, which is a tough entry for many of these partners that we have. We felt that our handshakes and, why outsource? Well, outsource to folks that understand your language and understand the business. Billy's been in this industry for over 40 years, and I'm right behind him. He is older than me. I just want to make sure everybody understands that. But the combination, and it sits on my wall. I don't know if you can see this behind me here, but you gifted this Tale of Two Companies back to me in 2015. And it sits proudly on my office wall, and a reminder every day how fortunate we've been.
As independent manufacturer reps, you guys operate like everybody else, but so much on being able to be agile and relationships, and kind of how do you sustain that as you guys grow and scale?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. Look, scale is never easy. And in today's world, it just can't be done manually anymore. I think in order to sustain agility and also grow your business, the investment in technology is a must, right? Both MedPro and Optimal, we've committed to investments in advanced CRM programs and ERP platforms, all powered and guided by AI. I wouldn't say AI is leading, but I think AI is providing us with a backbone of information and efficiency that we've never seen before. So to me, like I said, one thing that does scare me is that to think that we'll soon have an AI bot of Sparky. That is something that is, concerning, but I do look forward to it. But yeah, I would say the technology piece in driving agility, growth, scale is something that's being asked more and more of us by our manufacturer trading partners and distribution. Data is key, forecasting, growth. We become an extension of our trading partners.
I hope the bot has as good a hair as Sparky.
I would say that's one of a kind.
You guys are obviously a value-driven organization. What are some leadership skills that you think are most important when driving that?
Yeah, leadership qualities, right? I can give you a bunch of, standard cliches, but I guess in its simplest form, I've been taught to do what you say you're going to do, develop the people around you, listen before you speak, which is something I had to master and still mastering. But the handshake and the visit still matters.
Yeah.
No one's better in this industry that taught me the value of relationships than William Sparks. And I try to aspire to that level.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. One of the things that I think is interesting with you guys, and I think it's true across any business, but especially when you're an independent, is accountability.
Yeah.
And then, at the same time, innovation. And you just mentioned AI. How do you do that kind of simultaneously when you've got herding cats across the board, which every sales team, especially the size yours is like herding cats, but it's a little different when it's, on the independent front.
Yeah. I think about this often. I mean, there's several ways to probably answer this, and I'm going to start with innovation. I mean, it's always exciting, and I see the next generation of young individuals coming into our industry and exciting new thoughts and ways to do things, which you have to be open to. It's also risky, right? Because since you have to take that responsibility and accountability on the outcome of innovation, it's not always going to work, and maybe parts of it will work. But I think we have to make sure that we continue to go down that path without encouraging innovation. That means you're standing still. And I've been taught, and I can guarantee you, when you're standing still, someone just walked past you, right?
Yeah, you're backing up.
Yep. So,
Manny, I feel like our industry is going through almost a rebirth. I mean, you look at distribution, and I don't know, there's probably 300 to 400 under 3-year-old reps, in their early 20s.
Amazing. It's amazing.
What advice would you give to some young folks like that are just kind of starting out in the space? And
I mean, we're all living through it right now and adjusting, I guess. But I go back to our industry, and I really believe it's unlike others. And maybe because I'm biased, and this is the industry that I've spent my entire career in. But I think our business, to those that are considering entering, it connects you not only to the rewards and challenges of the business side, but it also gives you a connection to what I call purpose, and that you're ultimately, as an individual, your responsibility and contribution is the outcome of treating and caring for patient lives.
Right.
So that is that connection that gives you purpose. And all of us, at some point in our lives, a family member, a friend, are going to be dealing with illness. In that sense, I mean, our industry is kind of recession proof. People are going to get sick. But knowing you played a role in helping others heal and working in an industry that gives you, the passion and compassion at the same time, it's not easy to find that in every industry. And we always talk about our industry as an extended family, and it really is, as large and wide as it is. When times are tough, the family comes together. And once you find it, there's really no reason to leave it. And that's kind of the message that I would give to that next generation that's considering it. Come on down. There's a need for you, and there are people here in the industry that would welcome you with arms open.
Yeah, think about just the way you opened this podcast, talking about Mike Carver, of what a family the industry is. Mike's been retired probably 4 years, 5 years.
Sure.
And yet it affected all of us dramatically. I haven't seen Mike probably in 4 or 5 years, but man, when I found that out, it just hurt my heart.
Everybody stopped. I mean, everybody stopped wherever you're going to know where you were when you heard the news of Mike Carver, because it hits home. And it's scary too. These are the changes that, we deal with in our life, and, it's closer because we're in that industry.
Yeah. When you think about the industry a little bit, what are some changes you're seeing from a purchasing side? And are there any that you're excited about, or any that, you know,
Ooh.
freak you out, or all of the above?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's, I'm not a great sleeper, so I guess from a high level, you know, how do you sustain, right? Delivery of care at the level of, that we're supposed to be at, here in the U.S. is a world-class healthcare organization, right? You see the challenges with doctors being able to afford to be a doctor, right? Nurses with labor shortages. If you
Yeah.
look at all the numbers and the forecasts of what that's going to be over the next 10 years, it's alarming and concerning at the same time. Insurance reimbursements, we deal with this, and sitting on the boards that I do, and listening to new product innovation and introduction and how costly it is, surrounded around insurance and reimbursement. Look at what happened in, you mentioned this earlier, the landscape of supply chain and distribution, right? The entry and influence that private equity now has in so many of these companies, not only distributors, but as well as manufacturers, right? You have
And end users.
and end users, right on. I mean, it is, you're dealing with another category of thought. And, like I said, they're concerns, but at the same time exciting because it's a new view. But you can't replace experience, right? This also excites me. I know that there is a group across all of our, separate constituents, whether it's distribution, manufacturing, the providers, the GPOs, industry associations like yourself, to get the word out, right? We're trying to solve these problems. There's nobody in the industry that knows our business better than ourselves. And we need to be open to other thoughts. But that's the part that really excites me, and problem solving and resolution. We spend a lot of time, personal time, away trying to tackle these issues, whether it's with our industry trade associations, representing in Washington, taking the time to make sure our voices are heard.
I still believe it's a great industry to be in. I mean, I love it. I'm so thankful for my 30 years here and the relationships that I've been able to forge. It's been a journey, obviously, and at this point in your journey, I mean, you've got a few more years on me, not much, but a few.
Yeah.
What going in the Hall of Fame is kind of a milestone, and it's a cool thing, but what truly defines success for you, Manny?
Well, yeah, that's a lot to answer. But let me take a stab at it, right? I mean, obviously, at the Hall of Fame, trying to define personal success, and I don't think I can kid myself or anybody can kid each other, right? If you've attended a Hall of Fame ceremony and you're not aspiring to be recognized for that award, sitting in that audience, I think you're kidding yourself, right? I've, for the past, since it started, hope that one day be recognized for, your efforts, right? And to me, my legacy as it goes forward, I think people will believe first a friend, right?
Yeah.
I'm beyond the day-to-day business issues, whether it's competition or partnerships or what have you, but forging friendships and the relationships that I have, and my handshake out there is solid. Not to be afraid to make mistakes, right? And keep smarter people around you, right? Because I don't know it all, and I'm learning so much from others. I've always tried to surround myself with experience and developing people and seeing how they rise in the industry. I have so many people that have worked for me that are in positions of decision making at companies across the spectrum. Not afraid to speak my mind. I mean, I'm not one to mince words, but at the same time, as long as I've impacted somebody positive, that to me is personal success. I'm loyal to my industry family, period. But I am forever grateful to my own family, my wife and my kids, for actually allowing me to serve the industry for as long as I have and the amount of time that I spend in it.
That's awesome, man. I'll close with this, and I've done this with Joe and with John as well. Just maybe one or two mentors. I know you've mentioned Sparky a bunch, and he's a mentor to all of us,
Yeah.
his own right and own way. But maybe one or two that really have made an impact on you, and feel free to tell a story or two.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit difficult for me to give you one or two, but
Yeah.
maybe I can throw them out there in a little kind of in a timeline over the decades. How's that? When I first started out, I'll go with my dad, given it's his 1-year anniversary of his passing tomorrow. My best friend, and an immigrant from Spain. When I first kind of started out, I had the choice of starting a job that was kind of influenced by someone else, or starting a job that I actually got on my own. And I remember talking to my dad about it, and this is an individual that came here for a better life. 59 years as a longshoreman, made it to the age of 90, and he said to me, he goes, "Look, I get up every morning, I put my 2 feet on the ground, and I don't owe anyone where I'm going." And that's where I decided to take a position that has actually started with Procter and Gamble, and I could have gone to J&J. I ultimately went to J&J, but I made the decision to go to P&G. So I'm going to start my dad early on, and then really who influenced me, introducing me to the industry of distribution, was Marvin Calligore. I got some names probably in my head here, and I don't want to miss anybody, but
yeah, I understand that.
Marvin was intricate in the relationship and how he cared for so many people. I had Marvin on one side, and I had Bruce Haber on the other, who taught me the financials and how not to be afraid. And maybe that's where my outspokenness comes into play at times, because Bruce was just an individual that was relentless, and taught me a hell of a lot about the business. Later on, I was fortunate to work under Mark Malotek's wing at Henry Schein as they acquired our business. He taught me the art of the deal. And when I look to the right of that, my colleague at that time was Brad Kinnett. So, I mean, what two better individuals can you have to work with and learn from? I'd say now towards the end here, obviously, I've mentioned him a bunch because he's my best friend and my partner, Sparky. But when I hit a wall and I really need the voice of reason, I'm fortunate to have the attention of the Honorable Mark Seitz. He keeps me out of trouble legally.
Yeah.
And at the same time, he just has a genuine approach to listening. And, if I'm banging my head up against the wall, he normally figures out that there's a way to get around it. And I'm very grateful. There are
so
others.
Logical.
Yeah. There's others that have shaped me, like personally and professionally, but I would say I have a list of people that have been very important to me in the industry, and I guess I'm a little bit of all of them, and that's how I'll end.
I love it, Manny. Yes. I love you, buddy. I appreciate you.
Love you too, man.
So happy for you going in, and it's going to be a fun
still,
night.
Like I said, humbling and numbing at the same time. I know I'll be the oldest up there, but I am looking forward to spending the evening with, like I said, my industry family. My family will be there, and couldn't be more blessed to have Joe and John with me at the same time.
Well, thanks, congratulations, my friend. I appreciate you.
We'll see you out there soon.
All right, bud. Thank you guys for listening to this podcast series, and thanks for being with us today. As always, Manny's entertaining and always has a good few pearls of wisdom for us. So hope you enjoyed the podcast, and we will be back to you soon with another one. Have a great day and good selling as always.